Yo, what's going on, dudes? HK Titan here with a brand new video for you guys, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be showing you guys 10 simple tips to improve your BTD6 custom maps. So the first thing that you want to do when you're creating your custom maps is you want to avoid straight lines when it comes to like areas. So what I mean by that is like when you're placing down areas and stuff like that, you want to avoid like causing like abrupt straight lines in your backgrounds. So when you have when you're using like multiple different areas, unless it is purposely designed to where you have like 4 different sectors, but if you're just like going to try to like cut your map in half, it's best to like add a little bit of a wavy pattern to your map or to the line, because it'll add a little bit more detail and it'll make the areas blend into your map a little bit better, because like straight lines really make the areas like pop out and they seem a little bit out of place. The next thing you want to do when you're making your custom maps is you want to use the shader. Like when you're placing down props, you want to make sure that you're using the shader stamp. That way it adds a little bit of extra detail. Like, I know this map doesn't look the best, but even though like there's a bunch of like props placed down, if the person who created this map takes or uses the shader to add a little bit of shade in the background, it's really going to add a lot of detail. Now, for example, like take a look at this map here. Like this person did a great job at adding a bunch of shade in the background, and it adds so much detail. Like if we were to remove all the shade in the background, it would make this map seem a little bit more bland, but for the simple fact that they added that shade, it adds so much detail and depth to this map, it's crazy. The next thing you want to do when you're creating your custom maps is you want to make sure that you take advantage and use the nodes when you're placing down your pathways. Like I know it's something simple that I know a lot of people should know, but like take this map for an example. Like this map had so much potential to like be a circular or a spiral map, and I think this map could have looked really cool if they just made the outside circle a little bit more clean. And here's an example of someone who like took advantage of the nodes and they made really clean like circle corners to their maps, and it really makes their pathway look super clean. Even though they did forget to add the shade to their map, this map still looks pretty good for a super simple map. And just as an example, what I mean by using these nodes, just like use these nodes to like extend the pathway out a bit. And if you do it correctly, you can actually turn your map into a pretty solid looking circle map. And this just in itself, even if you make like a super boring map, like just having a solid pathway can like add so much detail to a map, it's crazy. The next tip that I have for you guys, when you guys are creating your maps, don't forget to mix up the color of your map a bit. And what I mean by that is like come up with a color palette that you want to use with your map. Like this map does a pretty good job at like mixing up the colors, but if they added like a couple of the sunspots in the background, or if they added like a sandbar, or if they just like used a little bit of extra color, it would really make this map stand out. Like a solid idea would be adding like a little island over here, or like adding a little bit of shade next to these buoys. Now I do know that the shade may look a little bit off because like we don't have like a super small shade icon, but for the most part, like if they just went through and added a little bit of extra detail to this map by adding like I was saying, like a sandbar, like an island, it would have added so much more detail to this map. A really good example by mixing up the color a little bit in your map is this map right here. Like there's a lot of green on this map, and if they didn't go through and add these rocks or add these little flowers to their map, then their map would have been too green and the map really wouldn't have looked as good. But the fact that they went through and they added a little bit of color to their map to like kind of like add a little bit of contrast, and because they added that little bit of extra contrast to their map, it really makes this map stand out. Now the next thing that I don't know if a lot of people know about or not, but when it comes to like props that like act as like barricades or like act as a blocking prop, there's actually a couple of sections where you can actually turn the blocking off, which will allow you to like place towers inside of the prop, or it will allow your towers to actually shoot through the prop. And also there is another tab here that is the animation tab, And when you're like you're trying to like make the artistic pictures with the BTD6 map editor, you can actually turn off the animation so it'll make your 3D creations look a little bit better. A next super simple tip to make your maps look a little bit better: when you're placing props in the BTD6 map editor, when you're creating your own maps, make sure that every single prop that you place down has its own purpose. Like, this is a example of a map where I'm not really sure what they have going on here. Like, it looks like they kind of wanted to like make it into like I want to say like a lumber mill, but with all of these different props, like they really don't have their own purpose. Like, you have a bunch of different trees here that are like broken down, but you only have like one stump. So if you want to like make this map stand out a little bit more, you should have like added like 3 different stumps and then like positioned the different logs so it seemed like the logs came from the stump, and that would have added so much detail to this map. On top of that, when it comes to this bench really doesn't serve a purpose. So when you're done creating your map, like, you take a objective look at your maps and then go through and see like what purpose does this specific prop have for this map. For an example, if I created this map for myself, the first thing that I would do is I would look through. I was like, all right, so this gazebo is serving as an entrance. This gazebo up here is serving as an exit. These 2 trees are serving as a little bit of added detail. Same thing with these trees up here. And then I would look at this like bench, and this bench as well as this pile of leaves really don't serve a purpose. Neither do these 2 mushrooms. So the first thing I would do is I would get rid of these 4 props right here, as well as I would come through and I would clean up this little gaggle of props over here, and I would make it seem like each prop had its own purpose for this map. So that's just a little bit of a tip when you're creating your own maps, is try to make sure that you keep a specific purpose for every single prop that you place on the map, whether it's for decoration, whether it's for utility, or if it's just to add a little bit of detail to your maps. The next simple tip that I have for you guys is it has to do with the shader icon once again. Now, when you're placing down your shade, try to imagine where the sun is on the map. So for my example, I'm going to picture that the sun is right here in the middle of the bottom of the map, like right here in the middle, like this. So when I'm placing down my shade, I want to like kind of keep that in the back of my mind. So I want all of the trees or all of the shade to be on the same side of the tree like this. And then when we get to this top tree, we want the shade to like kind of curve a little bit more to the top of the map. And it'll kind of make it seem like the sun is right here in the middle of the map. And that adds so much detail. Like, this is an example of like just randomly adding shade. And just randomly adding shade, like, it looks all right. Like, it definitely adds a lot of detail. But if you compare this side of the map to the left-hand side of the map, this side of the map, it definitely looks a little bit better because the shade is definitely coming from a specific source. So I know it's a little bit difficult to like try to remember that when you're creating your maps, but just like keeping this in the back of your mind, it's just gonna add so much detail to your maps. Now, this is something else that can bring a little bit more life to your map that a lot of people forget about, and that's just simply adding a name to your map, guys. Like, this map looks so cool, and I really like the design as well as like the whole theme of this map. Like, this person created a sawmill in this map, but the fact that they didn't name this map, it just takes so much away from this map. Like, if Ninja Elite 8611 would have just named this map Sawmill, it would have been so much better, because then people would have been able to like picture it in their mind, and they would have been like, oh yeah, that's definitely a sawmill or a lumber mill. So I know it's super simple, but again, just having a name on your map adds so much detail. Now, the next tip that I have for you guys is going to be another really basic one, but I'm not sure if a lot of people forget about the fact that you can add a background effect to your maps. But especially when you're making maps that have a lot of props and you hit that prop limit and you feel like there's still a lot of detail on your map that's missing, if you just go through and use this background effect, it's gonna add so much detail to your map, guys. Like, don't forget to make use of this background effect, because again, it's gonna bring a little bit of extra life to your map. And of course, guys, if you guys are looking for a little bit of inspiration in creating your future maps, please feel free to check out my series where I go through and I create a bunch of really cool maps. Right now, I think I've created somewhere in the ballpark of like 30 different maps, and every time I create a brand new map, I upload my process on YouTube as well. So if that's something that you guys have been missing, make sure you guys check out the playlist that'll link right here. But anyways, dudes, that's going to do it for 10 simple ideas or 10 simple tricks in order to improve your BT6 map creations. But anyways, dudes, again, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit that like button, and I'll see you dudes in the next one.